we didn't really see why we had to treat wine and cider as being really that radically different things. So everything that we do is typically on that dry end of the spectrum. 6 grams of sugar, 9 grams if it's boozy, sometimes fermented completely dry, 2 grams of sugar. So, yeah, that's kind of the genesis of like where we got started. During the pandemic, we kind of switched to being a little bit more of like a manufacturer. So we do a lot of co-packing for other people. That's kind of expanded our horizons on different kinds of things that we can make. And so we happen to own our own cider brand, but work in beverage all over. And then, let's see. I guess we should probably start with tastings on this, right? Or should we just go ahead and start with classic dry? So classic is the base that we use for 90% of what we do. So everything is going to be a variation on this. Originally we started out with classic as being very Dabinet focused. That is still like a core component, but being a USD organic cidery, we are doing like a little bit of like in-house blending, but that is probably like the predominant flavor that you're going to get out of this. It's going to be like tannic, but full fruit flavor, really well balanced, 6 grams of sugar, not overtly boozy, it's 5.2%, so it's incredibly sessionable.
What's up, partner?
It's Dabinet forward is what we like to describe it as. We're using a cider base that's USD organic, and then blending that Dabinet in. So it's a mix. I couldn't tell you the exact like ratio that is. Dabinet is it's an English varietal apple. Yeah.
So is it something that you need just as an apple, or is it too bitter?
It's you could cook with it if you really wanted to, you know, but it's definitely not a dessert apple. So very much like a historically like cider driven variety. Yeah, so being that this is the base that we do for most of our ciders, so rosé is going to be a riff on this, Vermonter is going to be this with gin botanicals, yuzu is going to be this with yuzu, ginger, and like a little bit of so this is like what we feel like is a good, well-rounded expression of, you know, just like everyday cider. Like, it doesn't lean too far into everyday category.
Very champagne.
Yeah, we actually do use champagne yeast for our production. So the only exceptions to that are when we're doing like skin contact wild forge stuff, like it's naturally fermented, or pitching yeast, it's going to be champagne yeast. It's called Dabinet. D-A-B-I-N-T. Yeah, that is a varietal of cider apple. It's predominantly in the UK. That's where we've been sourcing all of it. Yeah. I think you can probably grow it here. I don't see why not when it comes to like grafting, etc. But marketing, that it was kind of one of the apples that we really appreciated that was uncommon. You know, so from a supply chain perspective, we weren't competing with anybody for it. You know. It's like medium small, like, you know, not quite crab apple, but in that direction.
The cat is outside. It's a very sweet little cat.
No, we buy organic cider base. Sometimes I change like the locale of like where we're sourcing from. But you can, I guess,
that's not mine.
Dab in that as it's like our apple equivalent of pop, right? You know, like it's the main flavor.
That was a sour.
The organic base is the vehicle. Dab in that is the flavor. Yeah, we're bringing in liquid and then we're going to take it. Say again.
I tried really hard. I called 311. They said, well, the animal control people, they don't come and pick up cats. I have to take the cat and surrender it.
So
there's just one problem. We already got a cat in the house, and Earl will try to. Earl and that cat will most likely not get along.
We're releasing a cider starting next week called Deer Snacks, which is an annual vintage that we can't replicate.
What's this one called?
Like every time we do it, it's going to taste a little different because we'll be ordering those wild apples from different producers, and, you know, and that's literally when they're walking through the woods with a cheesemonger, finding the worst tasting apples that make the best cider. So every year it's going to be a little different. This is actually, I believe, our 8th version of that. And that's, you know, one of those things. It's like cans only might be 100 cases a year. Like every year it's a different yield. So. Rosé. So this is our rosé. Again, this is that apple, you know, base that we got from Classic, and then we actually buy rosé skins from California, like Napa Valley. But we're not so kind of like hyped up specifically about who we're working with. You know, it's like, you know, we're doing so much to this that it's more like you just want that great flavor. You know. But yeah, it's 6 grams of sugar, incredibly well-rounded, like still on the dry end of the spectrum, but the big thing for us is that we actually want to use grape skins and not just like red flesh apples or, you know, something like that. I think that there's like a specific varietal. I think we're, you know, just working with like some friends of ours from out there that, you know, they've got these grape skins after they press them. You know, we kind of treat it almost like a bouquet, you know.
Are they sitting in a barrel when they get the grapes?
Yeah, we get them in totes. Yeah.
Until fairly recently, like for me at least, I pretty much only known the rosé. I don't know if it was down here or my eyes first.
Rosé was like a really like big kind of breakthrough for us. I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago. There was just something in the air about people wanting, you know, like really appreciating wine and being interested in like how can we drink grapes in different formats, you know? So you'll notice that there was probably like a lot of rosé ciders on the market. Now I kind of feel like it's just us and Wolfer. Like those are the only 2 that you really see. And it's something that we definitely like haven't been like, focusing on doing more grape varietals, but we can't.
I thought you were giving it to me.
What we do for this. Like it's just it's a part of our identity, you know. You know, especially like, you know, working in places like Philly, you know, a food critic will give us a write-up and then everybody in Philly wants this rosé, you know, so it's like, well, we're gonna keep making this, you know, so. But yeah, I would definitely say that a lot of the more everyday kind of grape consumption, like people are a little less interested in that when it comes to like the cannon format. But whenever we do like these 750s that I'm going to share with everybody later, those are all wild foraged apples blended with different hybrid grapes that are grown in Vermont. So now when we use grapes, it's typically more towards this like higher end, a little bit more esoteric like area. Because there's a lot of variety and there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. It's just not super scalable in economy.
I wonder how long it takes for that to
Say again. Yeah, we're keeping up with demand. It's just hard to expand into that from a supply chain perspective. So, you know, when we think about using those ingredients, it's like, well, how do we make it special and how do we make it every year if we can't make it every day? You know? There's that, and it's also just, you know, if you get onto a good thing and you really like it, it kind of sucks when you run out of the stuff to make it. So. Yeah, I mean the supply chain with cider, etc. It's just a little bit more narrow. I mean, you'll notice in wine that they do a lot of vintage. You know, like they're not trying to sell you the same thing next year that they sold you this year. You know, so for us, it's like, all right, well, how do we lean into that? You know, so for a lot of like the more like the I hesitate to say everyday items, but the always available items. Like we have to be very judicious about like how we create those things. You know, it's essentially it's just really hard to get a contract on like certain type of apples if you like them. You know, so. Yeah. No, and that's something that happens in beer all the time. Like somebody will pioneer a hop, and then it'll be kind of hard to get a hold of, and then 2 years later, anybody can have that hop. You know, so unfortunately, the cider market isn't that big enough that that lag time is reduced. You know, but you can find something you really like, and it's like, well, that's pretty much all the world has for the next 10 years. So. Yeah, up next is Yuzu Ginger. So Yuzu Ginger was a cider that we made in collaboration with our friends over at Momofuku. It was one of our first like restaurant collabs where we wanted to do something special for these guys. They've been great supporters of us. Like they had ideas of what they would like to have in a can, just as consumers, not just as people selling to the general public. So we did a lot of R&D. Came up with this really wonderful idea that we've expanded on since then, which is looking to the cocktail world for inspiration. We don't necessarily feel compelled to reinvent the wheel, but we can find things that we like and find a way to package those flavor profiles that blend well together to the everyday consumer. So
that one's really nice.
I
really like that.
It's yuzu, ginger, a little bit of Vermont honey. We wanted it to be really balanced. Citrus forward with ginger, but it's not a ginger bomb. And it's not overly sweet. That honey that we use is definitely a balancing agent. It's there to like kind of tie it all together. And it really kind of becomes more than the sum of its parts. It's like, got good body. It's got like a slight vanilla cream aspect to it, but it's not overblown, So this is one of our like, when I talk about rosé being a breakthrough for us, like in like 2015, 2016, this was the next time that we kind of felt like we caught lightning in a bottle, So it's far and away like one of our most popular items. Yeah, exactly. So that was one thing that we were really excited about, was finding this ingredient like yuzu that hadn't already been oversaturated in the market. We probably got a little lucky during the timing because they were getting lots of write-ups about that, but I would probably, for myself, attribute that to the fact that we were working with, Momofuku, and they had their own intuition about, what was gonna be popular, and it turns out they were right, So, but again, it kind of opened up the avenue for us to think more about beverage as a whole rather than just cider. Like, what are people drinking? How can we use cider as a vehicle for that? Not that we necessarily want to be RTDs or anything like that, but we like apples. We like the way that tastes, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do with that. So looking to the cocktail world they're, even though someone isn't specifically an apple-oriented cocktail, like, we got to have a lot of fun discussions about Calvados and different brandies, different brandy cocktails. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with it, and this definitely helped us find like a niche. Yeah, this is available year-round. So the 3 that we've had so far are available all year.
Is that on tap? I get all the way to that. Is it on tap yet?
Yeah, we do have it available on draft. There's kind of a funny thing when it comes to cider and draft. I mean, you'll notice like not a lot of bars have more than like 1 or 2 taps. So you can't really like sell 9 different draft items at the same time, you know? So we tend to kind of focus on like just no adjuncts apple flavor whenever we're dealing with draft, because if somebody walks in, they say that they want a cider and you describe them a kind of a complex cider, they might just hard pivot into something else, but if it's like this is dry or this is bone dry, like a little more chance that they're going to continue to buy that. They do, yeah.
I hope I don't have to see a doctor now. Yeah.
It's my neighborhood bar.
An ambulance
You
went.
probably see me there. yeah, probably yesterday. I was there.
No.
Yeah. No, I love that bar group. It's like the 7 bars that I like the most. So.
Right.
Yeah. All right, up next is Vermonter. This is like a house favorite of ours. Again, when we start talking about like cocktails and cider, etc., we did a lot of like exploring, I guess what we felt at the time were kind of niche avenues, not just for like production, but for consumption. Like, what do we really like? And we were all on a pretty big gin kick for like a year. So this was made in conjunction originally with Bar Hill Gin from Caledonia Spirits up in Vermont. So juniper forward, floral, got just enough bite, uses a little bit of local Vermont honey as well. So the first time that we made it, we were actually aging it in barrels with them, and we liked it so much we wanted to figure out how can we make this all year round. And juniper was just one of those things that we were super interested in. So this is typically something, at least from a distribution perspective or like a restaurant perspective, this is kind of what I showcase to people who have really nice back bars. Like, they're going to appreciate something juniper forward. It works really well with like cocktail bars, restaurant bars, etc. So, this is like a. I know juniper can be kind of divisive, and we just don't care. Like, we're just gonna keep making it. So. We used to have a tap room until the pandemic. Once that happened, pretty much the 2 owners just had their like 2nd, 3rd kids independently and just couldn't figure out how to run a bar in Vermont and do that all at the same time. So, we collaborate with a couple of like local orchards for whenever like people are coming to town, like, we stock their bars, like, etc. But, as far as like the facility goes, it's, when you're in a town of 1,100 people, it's kind of hard to staff, so. Yeah. And, like, unless you feel like running it yourself, like, good luck. It's called Virgens. It's VRGENNS. It's about 30 minutes off the Burlington, like about halfway to Middlebury. I think it's like the next like big town down the road. But yeah, this is Vermont. This is like a personal favorite of ours, and
Well, the lady said that she might be somebody's cat. That
They're
might
less
be
about how it
somebody's
sells.
cat.
I just want it. So we're always gonna make it.
They said
No, it's
somebody
just juniper
owns
can be
the cat.
divisive. Not everybody likes gin. So yeah. You know?
Yeah,
You know,
well, the
try to
lady,
expand people's horizons
Mike's,
as much as I can.
Mike's friend. Yeah, the lady that
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, it's definitely very like, you know, like the juniper is obviously the most like recognizable like component, but it is like very floral and aromatic. You know, we really wanted to make it that way without it feeling hot or like ultra boozy. So hence the drop in the BA component, so we can make as much as we want.
Is there any flavors or anything else? Any new ones?
Actually, yeah. So you know, Zach's probably been listening to me talk about this on the phone in the car today. We are trying to figure out how are we going to incorporate pineapple. Like, we want to do pineapple, but we don't want it to just say Shacksbury pineapple. So I think we're going to do a jungle bird. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, you know, it's gonna say Shacksbury Jungle Bird, and I know a lot of people don't know what Jungle Bird is. Like my mom doesn't know what a Jungle Bird is, but she, you know, she knows what a pineapple looks like, so that's going back in, you know. But you know, we wanted to figure out like, you know, how do we give these flavors to people that they want them, but we can't do exactly what everybody else does. Like, so it's like we gotta be Shacksbury Pineapple Plus, you know? So it's like, all right, can we use molasses? Molasses is kind of hard, so it's actually a little dirty and gritty, you know? So from a sanitation perspective, that's gonna be a nightmare, you know? But, you know, how do we, like, do we use, you know, chips soaked in rum? Like, do we make it boozy? Do we make it like 4.8%? Like, what do we do? So, right now, I guess like a lot of our product concepts come from what are people interested in and how do we give that to them in the highest quality way that we can. That's also our way. So, you know, we're not trying to make RTDs, but we just like cocktails. So, how do we do that?
How can they like get from Ari and make it so?
Well, so we just started doing similar things like that. We just came out with Spritz earlier this year, which is, you know, basically like an apple Campari Spritz, you know. So, you know, we gotta like source those like raw herbal ingredients and like, you know, figure out like what is the best combination that tastes good and is affordable, because some of those ingredients are not cheap, so.
Flair could be made you guys could make
yeah, totally. Like, right, yeah, so like we can make allusions to things like that, you know? So like, yeah, we can be in that direction, you know? So we actually do sit around and do a lot of bench tops, like just mixing flavors together and like seeing, you know, again, like varying levels of sweetness, varying levels of ABV, like. So typically by the time we come up with a product that we want to do, it's going to take probably about 9 months, you know? And that's after we decide on the flavors that we want, how do we source everything? And be USDA organic compliant, which is, that's the big tough one, you know?
So you always organic?
For pretty much all of the core stuff we are. I would say 90% of what we make is organic. The stuff that is not organic is almost always because it has like a wild forage component. And you cannot certify that supply chain as being organic, you know? So ironically, it's a little more organic than organic because we're just picking stuff up off the ground. So
what do you have that would be like forage?
Say again?
What cider do you have out there you don't have here that would be forage?
So Deer Stacks, that annual release, these two 750s that I've got are both wild forage apples blended with hybrid grapes grown in Vermont. So neither of those, or none of those three qualify as just organic. We do have a year-round series called Arlo, which is made with juice that we import from Petra outside San Sebastian. And that is one of those Basque cideries that's like one of the oldest fast cideries, like, you know, in continual operation. Really, really beautiful place. You know, that stuff is bone dry, but can't get it certified because it's organic. So, just kind of a general rule of thumb of ours is that we try to lean towards that, but we obviously make some things that, you know. Yeah, so essentially we'll reach out to, you know, some local orchards, like in Vermont, and inquire about what if they harvested from foraging, you know, and how much they have to share with us. You know, so we'll purchase it from them. You know, if you have an issue, especially like a regional issue, like say it's like bad weather that year, you know, like the yield's gonna be bad,
by the time I got home, they had all
we're very at
left.
the will of the winds when it comes to like those kind of things.
Early.
Yeah. Right. So those are the things that like
I got home at 5. They were already gone.
But you know, we gotta not shut off the cider mill. Like we gotta make stuff all year. You know. So USC Organic was our avenue to being able to make stuff all year, and not having to fight over that supply chain with other people, because they're not gonna pay a premium for organic apples if they don't have a USDA certification. So we got the certification, we're gonna use it, you know. Cheers. Okay, so sweater weather, you know, again, that kind of theme of wanting to play in the cocktail realm a little bit. You know, we talked about wanting to do like, you know, cocktails like a stone fence or something like that. What we really decided to do was we just wanted to work with the guys from Kings County Distillery, you know. So it's like, you know, like we want it to be warming and we want it to be fall oriented. You know, we really, really do not want to make a cider donut or a pumpkin cider. Like, not that there's anything wrong with those, but it just doesn't like really resonate with us, you know. And everybody's doing one. We just want to do something different, you know. So reached out to them. Turns out when we talked about wanting to do something different, we were just like, let's just get back to the basics and let's just do a whiskey barrel aged cider. You know, like we're not seeing a lot of those. We want to make something that's like a little higher ABV, like it's fall oriented, but you can also drink it through the winter if you want. Like it's cold weather appropriate. It's not tied to a holiday, you know. So it's like, all right, like let's give this a shot. 8% whiskey, a little higher in sugar just to balance it out, and it just fucking knocked it out of the park last year. So it's like the thing that we're doing and talking the most about. So. Right.
I drink this thing, pints of it. That's a sipper. You can shot the heel. It's really well balanced when you're doing that.
Right. Yeah. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's why we live in America.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a big thing. Like for us, is that we don't. You know, we want flavor forward, but we don't want flavor bombs. We're not trying to exaggerate anything specifically in it. You know, again, getting back to yuzu, we want that ginger to be, you know, a component. You know it's there, like, but it's not a ginger bomb. If you want that, there are other ways to get that. You know, yeah, whether it's an alcoholic drink or not, like, there's plenty of ways to get that flavor. You know, so, but like, how many penicillins can you get? Like, unless you're paying like $15 somewhere, like, or making it at home. Like, so, yeah, we just wanted it to be that kind of like well-rounded, approachable thing.
So this is, say, cold weather season.
Yeah, this is definitely a cold weather season. Yeah, so we came out with spritz this summer, which was, you know, like very, you know, that like aperitif, like, you know, Aperol and party thing, which, you know, was also a reason for us to, you play with these different flavors, like explore, again, like sugar usage as a balancing agent, because this is already a sweet drink. It's like, what do we feel comfortable using, as far as like, a residual sugar content. And it was by far the most sugar that we've ever put in the can. And as much as we like that, I don't think it's an avenue we're going to continue to go down. Like, I think we still want to err on the side of like lower sugar as far as, the flavor profiles that we like, how we feel about, using sugar as a tool. Like, this was, that was definitely like a lighter body, like sweeter drink. Like, definitely made for hot weather.
Lower ABV?
It was a little lower ABV. Yeah, I mean, it was right around like classic, like when I say like lower ABV. Yeah.
I like the barrel aged stuff. I think it produces nice flavor. I think the caramel flavor to it.
Yeah.
Okay, I keep on going back to this stuff that was in the Jim Beam cast, Budweiser Copper. Put an interesting flavor to it. But you should also consider pumpkin spice, but because it does feel like a very nice stickness on the tongue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pumpkin spice is a whole thing.
No, and I think that there's other like things in there that we can also explore, like just like the use of clove, like, and so that's again like and I'm really happy everybody's asking me questions about like product origin, because it's kind of the most fun part of the job, but yeah, like sometimes we'll pick a thing and we know that we may not use that thing, but then we look at all the things adjacent to that, and how can we blend that together, minus like pumpkin, like so like what. If we're certain that we're not going to use a certain thing, that doesn't mean that we discount the other things associated with it. Exactly.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm gonna ask kind of a silly question. I was trying to help the little cat outside there. Where are you guys from?
We're from Vermont.
Vermont. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, which one did we just have?
I think that last one was Sweater Weather.
I really like the Sweater Weather.
Yeah, no, Sweater Weather is fantastic. Like, we're all super pleased with it.
Now, Sweater Weather is a cider?
It is, yes. It's a whiskey barrel-aged cider with cinnamon.
So what are the base apples?
So that is going to be USC organic apples that we buy on exchange, and we blend with organic Davinet apples from England.
That's very good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite salad? Depending on the day of the year, I don't know.
My favorite cider. There's a cider from Spain called El Gobernador that is, this typical like kind of Basque cider. It's like you look at the bottle, it's like full of yeast. It's like kind of ugly and questionable as to why you should be drinking this. Yeah. It is. It's fantastic. It's also as cheap as chips. It's like I was selling it in Texas, and it was like its wholesale cost was like $5 a bottle. So yeah, it was absolutely wild. Like we were getting that for a steal, And I don't see it anywhere, but I mean, this is like if you go to Sicily and try the house wine and you're like, this is amazing, can I get some? And they're just like, no. But for whatever reason, it was available to us in Texas, so I just bought as much of it as I could. But there's, I think Basque is my favorite tradition of cider. I'm a big fan of a lot of old world ciders. I also like Norman ciders, like young French ciders. They're a little sweeter, but they really taste like full flesh, like rounded apples, So, and when I say sweeter, it's like they're not sweet by like, traditional U.S. standards, but there's a lot of really wonderful old world tradition. It's just typically stuff that you can only find if you're in a wine shop. Like, it's not really widely distributed. So, I mean, it's, available in New York. You can walk into any wine shop and tell them what ciders that you're looking for, and, they'll probably be able to point you in that direction. So, I've been working directly with Shacksbury for just over 4 years now. But I was purchasing from them on a distribution level since almost that they opened. So they opened in 2013. I started buying from them in 2014. So yeah, I mean, we've all known each other for like a decade now. They think about it. Just tight, being able to measure things in decades. So. Yeah. So let's start with Cayuga and the Dahl grapes from Vermont. So they're white grapes, like pretty floral, little tannic, like they're sharp, crisp. Yeah.
That is a very strong smell of Swiss cheese.
I have found that people, like I used to work with a lot of cocktail bars back home, and that was like a really big trend for a while. Like people just putting one cider on tap and then using that as like a topper for various cocktails. I think it's something that you can do all year round, but obviously people think about fall as being apple season, so that's when you start to see it more. But working from the spectrum, like various brandies and whiskeys and fortified wines, like there's a lot that you can do with cider cocktails. I, from a functional perspective, I would highly recommend using draft as the vehicle for that, because otherwise you're opening cans. Yeah, if you don't sell 3 in the next 20 minutes, like you're gonna lose half a can. So, but yeah, I mean, I think like cider cocktails are certainly viable, but it's like a functional thing. It's like, do I have a cider on draft that is gonna pair with this? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's the tough part, and then you gotta factor in that waste. It's like part of cost, and it's like, oh, it's 60 months, maybe. Yeah. I mean, they can taste great, But yeah, this cider is, we made this, I want to say like 2.5 years ago is when we came out with this.
That's really interesting.
And it's very much us kind of getting back to our roots of like, what we were, the style of cider we were originally making when we first opened. So, we really love it, but again, it's just damn hard to replicate, So, yeah, exactly. I mean, we were living in this like veritable candy land of like, if we like it enough, we can make a business out of it, And it turns out people just don't buy 750s like they used to 10 years ago. So it just is the way that it is, So there's lots of like hurdles like you have to overcome. Again, when you think about like product R&D and what is scalable, somebody really likes it, how can I make sure that we can keep giving it to them, you know? Yeah, so this is it's a little bit higher in ABV. I don't believe there is now. It is bottle fermented. Yeah, so it's natural fermentation, like, and it just eats as much of that sugar as it can, you know. Grapes. Yeah, so we put it. Sorry. Yeah, so we put this with grapes. But yeah, those are kind of good with all grapes that are also locally grown.
I don't know.
It's a drier, it's actually like really safe. It tastes very fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's still like fruit forward, but it's definitely like a drier end of the spectrum. This next one, it's going to be a lot more like rich and robust, like as far as the grapes go. And I mean, I could get the exact grapes in it because they're all French and mostly French. But I do know that it's 3 different grapes, and then it's also blended with aronia berries, so it's almost like a little more like cider sangria than just like cider blended with grapes.
What's that?
My question is, there's a place on Staten Island called Beverage Island. Are you available there?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Good. I gotta find these 2 bottles. The Luna was very nice.
You can definitely request them. I don't think I have any in inventory right now, but I can ship some down to New York. So if you bug them enough, like it'll get to me. I'll make sure you get the case.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Terra, like Earth, Terra.
So, yeah, the long and short is that the fast cider is one of those
That's
kind of like OG traditions of like minimal intervention, you know. So like lots of you know, like skin contact, naturally fermented. It's gonna be tart, funky, farmhousey. But it's like I think one of the longest kind of running traditions of that style. So it's very terroir oriented. Like sharp and crisp, like very like green apple flavors.
Don't let that stuff go out.
So funny you should mention that. The way that I deal with it is by not selling all of it. Like I only make it minimally available. So I probably have, I don't know, maybe like about 3 years of inventory left that I'm not trying to sell. Like it's one of those things that I wanted to go to the people who want to have it. You know, so yeah. And you know, we're not trying to deprive anyone from having it, but this isn't how we pay our bills. So I don't need to sell it, you know. So I'll bring in you know, like 5 to 10 cases of each to New York, and that'll last me like 6 months, you know. And then I will resist bringing in more unless there's a special request from someone who's typically very excited about it, you know. You know, if you put the market in a position of needing people to buy it, sometimes that does bad things to them. So,
can I get a little more?
We don't need. It's not going bad. You know, like
this one's really good.
We can use some age. You know, and we'll find out like if there is something that's like keeping it from maturing or you know whatever. But it's fine. You know, like we'll just pull it and we'll just drink it ourselves. You know? Okay. So, yeah.
Put these in a nitro.
Yeah, I mean, if there were enough people who wanted to buy nitro cider. That's probably like 180 a case wholesale. So, what is that? Like, yeah, something like that. Yeah, and retail it would probably be like 20 to 25, somewhere in there. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the we got one with nice during the pandemic. We were driving back from Cotton Tuesday or something. And they had the one crazy we stopped there.
Yeah, it's tricky from, you know, again, you know, coming from the sales and logistics background, it's like, you know, I want to keep making stuff like this, I just don't want to over leverage it, right? It's like a part of our business, and we have to do it, you know? Like, yeah, it's like we do all the other stuff. I work with Whole Foods so that we can afford to make that, you know, it's that kind of thing, you know? It is not. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So like typically everything that we do that has a color component is coming from the actual ingredients. You know, it's like yuzu being like more kind of bright orange, yellow, and cloudy. Like, that's the yuzu.
Did you bring? Anybody else have any questions, comments?
I might have missed. I missed it, but what goes into the Terra?
The Terra is a blend of it's 3 Vermont hybrid grapes that are Staten mined right now. Yeah, I don't think they're listed on the bottle, but they're hybrid grapes like made in a lab, grown in Vermont. They're very cold weather resistant, but I think that they're a blend of like different French grapes that do well in Vermont. I'm just struggling to think of it off the top of my head. I do know that like one of the big components is aronia berries, which are like very juicy berry native to Vermont. So that's a large portion of that.
I didn't. You said grape. I was expecting there was some apple in it.
No, it's made with wild foraged apples, blended with grapes and berries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything that we make right now, apple is kind of the vehicle that we use to express these different flavor profiles.
Because the reason why I asked is it's very deep purple.
Yeah, I know that they're like very robust grapes. I know I just talked about this with somebody like a week ago. I mean,
it's delicious. I love it.
I can actually look this up right now because I got a magic print. Yeah, the Roni berry.
somebody, I posted that on Imager. Somebody said, I'm in Brooklyn, you see that cat, again, nab it, I'll talk to some folks and we'll get it out of your bathroom in 5 to 7 days, depending on vet scheduling. Somebody said, I'm in Brooklyn, you see that cat again, nab it, I'll talk to some folks and we will get it out of your bathroom in 5 to 7 days, depending on vet scheduling.
So Frontenac Noir, Leon Milo, and Boca Noir are the grapes and the Terra. Glad we're gonna remember those. I'm sure we were probably only able to buy them once anyway, so. Yeah, did a bang job.
You sell the bottle stuff to restaurants?
Yeah, the last place that I actually sold those to were Oxalis and Place to Fed. Like, so typically I'll end up like finding like a nice restaurant that's like specifically looking for something like that, and it's like, no, I've got you.
I've drank this before at a place called Modern Love.
Modern Love, what, in Philly? No. Okay.
Did you find it?
I wouldn't be totally shocked if that happened. Like,
After the last drink, we just had it, and it's just really
what should I do this now?
All right, big hand for Larkin. Thank you so much for coming to stand in. You live in New York City? Oh, that's fine.
I'll see you there at 12:05.
I love to make cider.
Well, thank you all for coming. I really enjoyed the ciders. I thought it was a nice switch from beer. And next month we have Boulevard, Kansas City. And in November we have Allagash. And those booths are going
Allagash
to
for
be good.
November at Boulevard.
And Jack's brands. So Zach, win-win.
Yes, sir.
Zach. Thank you all for coming. Everybody go out to your local places and ask for Shacksbury cider. Tell them you must have it. You can't live without it. You have to have these apples. And of course, these are available here for the next time being. And thank you all for coming. And I'll catch you next month. Oh.
I can pay out their stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
Last Thursday over Halloween.
Yeah, so it's going to be the Thursday before, whatever the 24th. And the same in November. It won't be Thanksgiving. It will be the Thursday before. Thank you for pointing that out. So, remind people.
Thank you, Hot Shop and Mike Freeman for sponsoring.
My pleasure. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you next